Edwin, tell me about your background. I know we've talked about it before, but where did you really learn to bass fish?
I learned, I started fishing ponds in Missouri, and then really started fishing a bunch when we moved to Texas.
Okay.
Ponds, and then started fishing lakes a little bit more out of a one-man boat, and then eventually out of a Bass Tractor V17.
Okay. Okay. Anything from back in those days that you learned that you carry over to today? I mean, like on the behavior of bass or anything, or is there anything that in your early days that you carried over to now?
I think every day you're on the water, you're learning. So every day that I've been, has taught me something about the next day. Early in my career, I was fortunate to fish a little bit in Missouri, fish a little bit in Texas. So I, learned a couple different states, and then moved to Illinois and learned a little bit about Illinois, and just then moved to Oklahoma. So I got fairly diverse. A little bit later in my career when I started fishing team tournaments, you learn off each team partner. Jeff Reynolds and Matt Reed, were two of the better known name team partners that I fished with. That learned a lot off those guys, and we probably learned off each other and
Okay.
different bodies of water.
Where did you fish in Missouri?
Lake Stockton.
Yeah.
For a birthday trip, like in 5th or 6th grade, I wanted to go bass fishing on Lake Stockton, and that's where we went.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. I fish Stockton quite a bit myself. Well, by quite a bit, I mean several times a year. You said that was for what? For when you were in 5th or 6th grade, or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, that was what, for your birthday or for just a special?
Just for a birthday gift. I asked Dad for a birthday gift. My birthday gift was a guided fishing trip out on Lake Stockton.
How neat is that? That is really cool. Do you remember anything about that trip? Did you guys do pretty well, or?
Yeah, I remember. It was like it was yesterday. I was using a Zepco 33 Classic, throwing a triple wing buzz bait, out of production buzz bait, because I could reel it slower and stay on top of the water. And I think I caught 2 or 3 bass that day. Had a couple of really big blow ups, all on a buzz bait. It was phenomenal.
Fun. Well,
first time I'd ever been in a bass boat. I remember just being red and shiny, and it was a neat trip. Neat trip.
Did that go a long way toward you wanting to become a professional fisherman at some point in your life, or what?
Oh, at that point, I knew I kind of wanted to be one, but yes, it was definitely got the passion ignited.
Yeah, that's neat. That's neat. Tell me about the why you found so much success in your career. I know that's a tough question, but I mean, a guy like you just has to be so amazingly diverse. I mean, it's not you can't live on one pattern anymore. I mean, you have to be diverse. But you touched on that by fishing so many different states and stuff. Tell me in your own words, is there anything you can pinpoint as to why you've excelled it like you have?
I think I just worked really, really hard, and I was consumed by it. When I graduated, I lived in a camper. That's what I wanted to do, and I didn't get married till I was 31, and I just was very, very driven to make it.
Huh.
And I think that was probably the biggest thing.
Now, you said when you graduated, where did you go to school? You played football, didn't you? And
Southeastern Oklahoma State.
Okay, cool. And like you said, you just became just hard work. The hard work putting, and really a lot of the top pros tell me time on the water is the best education a guy can get, right? I mean, you can look at all these videos and everything like that, but you have to spend a lot of time on the water, don't you?
Oh, you do. Real life experiences when a front blows through, the wind changes, the water falls, the water comes up. There's 2 other tournaments going on. There's somebody on your spot. Yes, it's all everyday scenarios that cannot be substituted, no matter how much you read or how many videos you watch.
Okay. If you were given one method to throw, I know that's tough, but what is your favorite method to catch bass?
Top water.
Okay. What any specific kind of top water?
Probably the Jaywalker, a bone Jaywalker 120. It just catches big fish. It catches fish in dingy water, really clear water. Such a versatile bait. You can throw it anytime from pre-spawn all the way till the water gets in the low 50s, and I just love that bait.
Okay, great. Well, I thought you were going to say like a finesse jig, because you've made those famous. I mean, but tell me about finesse jigs. Do you fish them? Do you fish them almost year round? I mean,
oh yeah, there's always one tied on in my boat. Just in pressure situations, or fishing behind other boats, or in clear water when they're feeding on little crayfish. There's always one tied on in my boat.
Okay, is that the type of thing? I mean, even wintertime you can catch them on a finesse jig, can't you? Or
absolutely.
Okay, any tips on how to fish those, or that?
The biggest thing is I think don't put it on too big a line. I like a little bit smaller line, just for the fall to be more natural, for the bait to be a little less restricted. I like to throw them on 12, 14, 17 pound test.
Are you?
I like I like the brown rubber color. Just the old school brown is the color that I really like. Just a green pumpkin, like a green pumpkin, small Pit Boss Junior, or like the Berkeley chunk. The 2.75 green pumpkin chunk is a great bait to put on it.
Okay. And are you still using who is it? Valambraso's jigs?
Yeah,
Do you still
use it?
Do those anything that makes those jigs special? I mean, I could give a little plug for those things if you want me to, but
absolutely, it's the E Series Finesse Jig, and what's special about it is it's perfect. It's got the old school rubber on it that just has a really great action. It has a very dull color to it. It doesn't reflect light. Silicone skirts will reflect light. That old brown rubber does not reflect light. And like the brown orange color, would be one of my favorites. Or the one that they call green is a good color too. It doesn't reflect light. It's just a very natural presentation.
Now, do you swim those at all, or are you just bottom pumping?
They're generally on the bottom.
Okay. Now, you used those to win the Classic, didn't you? Or was that part of your arsenal, or?
It was pretty much the final deal on that final day.
Neat. Well, I'm sure that, did you catch big fish on that bait on that final day, or?
Well, I had 2 7-pounders and 3 5-pounders at 29 pounds.
Jeez. Wow. What kind of structure were you working, like rocky banks, or?
Just, it was lay down, big logs.
Okay. And just letting them go to the bottom and just slowly retrieving them, or what type of retrieve did you use?
It's just very slow crawling them on the bottom.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, just a couple other things. If the bass aren't hitting at all, what a lot of people talk about this. A lot of people just pack it in, but like a pro like yourself, any tips on what you do? I mean, some people say just go point hopping and start off that way. How about yourself? Any tips on what fishermen might try when the bite is just really tough, like downsizing or whatever?
The biggest thing I think when the bite's really tough is to have something you have confidence in, slow down just a little bit, or speed up. It could be one or the other. And generally speaking, we're fishing most of the time I always stay too deep. If you're not catching them, move shallower.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be the three things that I would say. In the order of how I would try it, I would speed up my retrieves, my baits. I would move shallower, and maybe the other thing is to think about fish being suspended. Those would be the three things that I would think of, because when we lose contact with them, it's generally because the fish are suspended, or they're lethargic, or they've moved shallower.
Okay, very good. Tell me about today's pro. I mean, probably even in the time that you've been on the circuit, I mean, there's a lot of sticks today that are really competitive. I mean, they've got a lot more information available to them and things like that. I mean, what goes into that? How do you separate yourself from the pack, first of all?
Just experience. Experience is huge in this sport. I've got 20 years of tournament experience of different situations to fall back on and have confidence in my decisions. I think confidence and making quick decisions when something's not working is really key, and that's what I try to do.
Yeah, probably. That's everybody talks about electronics and all the new electronics, but again, we go back to time on the water is tough to beat, isn't it? I mean, you just get instincts for where the fish are going to be, and I don't think any machine can tell you that.
Right.
Yeah. So
that is part of it, and then that younger angler also is really good on electronics.
Yeah. Just a couple other questions. Tips for beginners. I mean, so many people just get overwhelmed with all the baits they see, and when they go into a Bass Pro or something like that, and with all the electronics and thinking they have to have a Ranger bass boat or something like that. I mean, what are just getting down to basics? What do you suggest for people just getting started in the sport?
Keep it simple. Think about bass. They really only eat three things: bluegill, shad, and crayfish.
Mm-hmm.
Try to represent one of those three things. I try to kind of break it down to seasons. I try to represent crayfish in the wintertime. I try to represent, kind of switch over from crayfish to bluegill around the spawn, and then shad really summer and fall. So I try to think about those three things. That's really what they eat when you're fishing lakes. It's even more simple if you're fishing ponds or rivers. Really all they eat in ponds is frogs and bluegills. Pretty much the same thing in rivers.
Mm-hmm.
Small streams. So
that's good.
And that really kind of narrows it down to the colors and the baits and the things that you choose. Bass are very target oriented for the most part. And try to become a better caster, maybe, to be more precise with your cast. I think so many new people, they would catch a few more fish if they're able to put it a little bit closer to the target that the fish is related to.
Yeah, that's very good advice. Just one other question. You're sponsored by Berkley, aren't you? Or
yes, I am.
Yeah. Give me your advice on a hot new bait, something that's just coming out. I've been following that Berkley Gilly, but I don't want to put words in your mouth. What?
That's a neat bait, but I I got the Berkeley Agent E, and it is a hybrid jig is what it is. It looks like a swim bait, but it comes in 4 different sizes. There's a small 2 3/4 inch size, a 3 inch size, and a 1 inch size, 3/8, half, 3/4, and 1 ounce. And it's perfect. It's a perfect bait to crawl on the bottom, work on the bottom. It represents a bluegill really well, and represents a goby really well, or a shad on the bottom. And it's meant to be fished on the bottom like you would a jig. Skips underneath docks. It's really weedless. It's got a fiber fluorocarbon weed guard. It's got a rattle in it. The nose is hard, which also adds to the noise factors. It's bumping rocks on the bottom.
What is that called?
An Agent E. Agent.
E.
Capital E.
And who is that made by, Berkeley or?
Yeah, Berkeley.
Okay, Agent E. I hadn't heard of that one. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so again, along with your finesse jig type thing, then okay, that's good. That's good. Well, hey, that is all I have. I really appreciate you